Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to part 4, the last part of the shoe series, where I've just been talking about when it is either appropriate or not appropriate to have a specific type of shoe on. So far we've talked about flip-flops, pretty much never appropriate, minimalist shoes, appropriate for time spent on grass, doing basic strength activities like squatting, deadlifting, more built-up running shoes, appropriate for kind of longer walks, hikes, long runs on concrete, that sort of thing. And then in this last part, I wanted to talk about two types of shoes which I actually don't have an example of right now, and that is Olympic lifting shoes, and then the more recent kind of hybrid Olympic lifting running shoes that are specifically being marketed to CrossFitters. So why do all Olympic weightlifters wear Olympic weightlifting shoes? Two big characteristics there. And I'm going to use my overly built up running shoe to talk about this. So just pretend like this didn't have foam and was instead just a solid chunk of rubber. Two big things going on here. That solid chunk of rubber is not foam. It, just like the Vibrams, just like the Merrells, lets you sense the ground and push very, very aggressively through that foot to generate force, which is what you want in something like a clean, something like a snatch. Other thing is that all Olympic weightlifting shoes have relatively steep heel-to-toe drops, meaning the heel is higher than the toe. What this ultimately does is it gives you kind of fake ankle range of motion. It lets you have kind of increased dorsiflexion, lets you get your knee over your toe more than you normally could without that heel lift. What that means is that in something like a front squat, in something like an overhead squat, if you've been watching my videos for a while, we talk about the importance of ankle dorsiflexion and getting the knee over the toe to keep the chest vertical with front squatting and overhead squatting. An Olympic lifting shoe does exactly that. By giving you more ankle range of motion, you can stay taller and get your knees over your toes so that you don't lose a front squat forward or you don't have to bail on an overhead squat because you're loading your hips and leaning forward too much. So that's the benefit of an Olympic weightlifting shoe. What is an Olympic weightlifting shoe good for? Obviously the Olympic lifts, strength training movements, squatting, that sort of thing. Not a huge fan of people that deadlift in an Olympic weightlifting shoe, just because that elevated heel puts you further away from the bar. So you're putting yourself at a kind of a disadvantageous position by just having to go further down to the bar. But for something like a clean, something like a snatch, where yes, it's an explosive deadlift into a squat, that's a shoe that makes a lot of sense for most folks. Now, the middle ground is, and I know I don't have any specific examples of this type of shoe, but it's something I see a lot in the gym. And that is kind of the half Olympic weightlifting shoe, half running shoe. I know that, I can't think of right now actually what brand markets these shoes, but what it tries to do is a little bit of both. So it has some cushion, but it's mainly a pretty stable, rigid shoe that you can put some good force into, and it has a little bit of a heel-to-toe drop. The thing about that shoe is it tries to be everything, and it truly 100% succeeds at not doing any of those things. So it's not going to be as effective as at increasing ankle range of motion as a true Olympic weightlifting shoe. It's not going to be as effective as controlling the foot and cushioning as a true running shoe. It's a nice hybrid. For things like a 20-minute Metcon where you're doing a lot of running in Olympic weightlifting, obviously that's a good choice. You're not going to be changing shoes mid-workout. But if you're thinking that that's going to be the best shoe for both running and double unders and Olympic weightlifting and deadlifting, then I would challenge you to rethink that thought process. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this series. I definitely enjoyed recording it. Thank you so much for watching.